I'm Phillip Lanos, and today we have Joe Pulizzi. Now, he is the founder of multiple startups, including content creator education site, The Tilt, and it's actually Tiltcoin on rally.io. And it's the best-selling, he's the best-selling author of 7 books, including Content Inc. and Epic Content Marketing, which was named a must-read business book by Fortune magazine. Now, Joe is best known for his work in content marketing, first using the term in 2001, then launching Content Marketing Institute and the Content Marketing World event. And in 2014, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Content Council. Now, he has successfully exited from CMI in 2016 and consequently wrote an award-winning mystery novel, The Will to Die. Now, he has two weekly podcasts, the Motivational Content Inc. podcast and the Content News and Analysis show, This Old Marketing with Robert Rose. Now, his foundation, The Orange Effect, delivers speech therapy and technology services to over 200 children in 34 states. Joe and his family live in Cleveland, Ohio, and he's here today with us. Joe, how you doing?
Phillip, I am psyched to talk to you. We were talking beforehand. It's been too long. So this is going to be fun. I'm glad we have this time together.
I think when we first got a chance to chat, you had just finished or were in the works for The Will to Die around that time period, somewhere around there. And look at you now, man. 2 shows.
Well, it's funny how things happen and they just add on. I started in 2007 with just a blog. I did just a blog and e-newsletter for 3 years. And then added on a print magazine, then added on the event Content Marketing World, then the 2 podcasts, and then the books. And I just like, sometimes I just have to say, let's stop, let's focus, which is what I'm trying to do more of now. I'm trying to get to a point. These things make sense. These things don't. Who's the audience? Where can I make the most impact? So I'm starting to ask those kind of questions. I've been, as you just mentioned, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. So you got to pick your spots. I don't want to be all things to all people. I just want to focus on helping a small slice of the population at this point.
I love that. Do you have an interesting path in the sense that you were able to see how to reach people in ways that you knew were eventually going to pay off? I mean, you were doing things when everybody was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of have a blog. Boom, you had one. Yeah, I guess I kind of have a podcast. Boom, you have one. Yeah, I kind of wrote some, but yeah, you've always found a way to reach people. It's no mystery why you would found, the Content Marketing Institute. And for me, I'm curious. I could only ask someone like you this. If the world is moving towards this whole AR, AI, and I don't know if you've given it any thought, if you've entertained what the future looks like, but it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't ask someone of your caliber and experience this question. What does the future look like? I know it's kind of out of order, but it's just, I'm so excited to talk to you again.
Well, I actually have been, and that's probably why we're talking right now, because in 2016, my wife and I sold the business. I stayed on until end of 17. I took a sabbatical year in 2018. It was a wonderful year. Everything you'd think it would be. Taking a year off, spent time with my 2 kids. And then in 2019, wrote The Will to Die, and I was going to become a novelist. I'm like, I did my business thing. Successful exit. I'm fine. I'm going to just write mystery thrillers. I have a knack for it. The first one did pretty well. And I'm like, I'm going to go that direction. COVID-19 hit. And I got to a point, and I'm sure a lot of your guests got to this point as well. I just started to analyze my life, where I could do the most good. And I'm like, I can, 1,000, let's say a couple thousand people are going to read my novel and it's going to be entertaining for them, but I'm not necessarily changing their lives. It's like, where can I make an impact? So I said, let me go and start helping this on the other side. I used to focus on marketers at large enterprises. Now I'm going down and helping the solopreneur, helping content creators, content entrepreneurs. And really is because of COVID-19, I started to get pinged, and I was getting messages, and I was getting DMs and all kinds of notices from my friends and colleagues who were getting let go of their jobs about, Joe, does that Content Inc. model work? Like, I want to stay at home. I want to build my audience. Can I build an audience first? Then can I build products and services around it, which is what we talk about in Content Inc. And I was surprised. And I'm like, Phillip, maybe this is where I can do the most good. So I talked to my publisher at McGraw-Hill, and I said, are you noticing anything with the Content Inc. book that was published in 2015? I said, are sales going up? And they said, yes, strangely enough, sales of that book are going up. So this is in March and April of 2020. I'm like, okay. So I went over to my podcast stats. My podcast, I killed that podcast at the end of 2017, Content Inc. And I go and look at the downloads. The downloads are up. And you know, as a podcaster, that doesn't happen. Like once you kill a podcast, it's dead. Like you'll get some downloads by accident, but things just don't happen. I'm like, something's happening. There's a whole movement around the creator economy, content entrepreneurs that's going to be big. And so I got into that and I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then I found social tokens, community coin, whatever you want to call them, creator coins, community. I call them community tokens. And I'm like, could this be, and this is to answer your question, this I think is a new business model for content creators. I think this really is something where a brand or an individual can create their own token on the blockchain where the community can help build the creator's business. They help each other, support each other, and everyone sort of financially succeeds in this thing, and you can build your own mini economy. So I fell down that rabbit hole in October 2020, and I said, I got to do this. So I start researching. I found rally.io. I talked to the executive team there. I said, I'm in. Like, I want to be your guinea pig. I want to try this. So I think we were coin number 74, I think, on that platform. We launched in March of 2021 as Tiltcoin, which is the new business, is called the Tilt. I think it was something like 34 or 36 cents, Phillip. And today it's right around $47 a coin or something like that.
Wow, what?
It's nuts. Now, I don't want to focus on the price.
Right.
That's a pleasant surprise. I think we're really building something. And that's what I've seen with the community we built on Discord coming from the newsletter. They all feel like they're building it together. And that's where I'm really talking about. I used to just say, oh, go build your audience and then monetize that audience in multiple ways. Now I'm like, audience plus, it's audience to community and building that community. And what can that creator give back to the community that's given them so much? And we all build this thing together. And I know that sounds kind of like pie in the sky, but it actually is happening right now. There's a business model there. And I think this is going to be, next 12, 18 months are going to get crazy for social tokens and community tokens. And I'm just happy to be along for the ride, trying to figure out this business model.
I'm sure you had plenty of other things you could have stepped into. And the fact that the token was the one that made sense is something I'm going to not let just go in one ear and out the other. That there's a reason for that. You and your track record don't show anything of sort of happenstance, right? It's pretty particular what you've done. And I'm curious if you had, and I'm going to add some context here. Sure. Most people, when they're starting their communities or their lists or what have you, if they're starting today, right, they're like, okay, I have my social account and I'm posting things, and sometimes my friends watch, sometimes they don't. We fall into this trap of like, people who know me already don't pay attention to what I'm doing. And usually this has a lot to do with like audience or what have you, right? They didn't do the work. But if you could pretend you stepped into a room with a bunch of people who are having that problem right now, and they're like, but I'm trying to build my community and it's not working. Aside from obviously reading your books and reviewing the podcast, what would you say is the best place for them to start to really consider or to see the possibility of actually building that community? Because people need to see that to believe it, right?
Sure, I'm happy to. Well, the first thing is you start with audience. You start with the who. Who are we trying to deliver information to? What are their pain points? What keeps them up at night? What are their desires? You as the content creator need to know that better than anything else. And you get to a point, and what happens is a lot of content creators are creating the same content as everyone else. And it's very hard to cut through all the clutter if you're talking about the same things. So what we want to do is get that to a point where you can find what we call a content tilt. Your content tilt is that area of differentiation where you can break through all that clutter and stand out. Some people call it a hook, whatever you want to call it. You have to find that. So you start with who's the audience, and then you're gonna figure out, well, how can I be different? How can my message really make an impact? How can it get through? So start there. So it always starts with audience, figure out that. Then the next thing is, what most creators do is they feel they have to be everywhere. And I get it. I got to be on TikTok, YouTube. I got to do 8 podcasts, all the things, right? We got to do all the things. That is a recipe for disaster. especially with a content entrepreneur that's just getting started. You have to pick your spots. So you have to say, what's that audience need? What's the story we're going to tell? And then where are we going to tell that? And how are we going to tell that? So is that going to be a podcast? Is that going to be a YouTube series? Is that going to be an Instagram daily video? Is that going to be a Twitch stream? It all starts with one thing. And this is just media 101, Phillip. This is looking at every great media company and how they've started for the last 200 years. Even with all the different technologies we have today, every one of them started with one thing. New York Times started with a newspaper. Huffington Post started with one blog to one audience. TED Talks started with in-person talks that were 18 minutes long. Now they're a fully diversified media company. Red Bull Media House started with a print magazine that they delivered at Formula One races. That's how they started. Then they built their audience. Then they diversified. What content creators do is they diversify immediately. And you can't be all things to all people all at once. We call it content energy. Every person, every brand has a limited amount of content energy, no matter what company you are or how much budget you have. So you have to focus on one thing. Then when you build that audience, and we call it a minimum viable audience, what's the number heads down you're going to go for, build that audience that you can then monetize. You just need to focus on that. You have to put off the money and the revenue for a little while. You get to that MBA number, and then you've got something. So that, and then let's package it all together with, if you're going to do something, it's not necessarily how frequent, it's how consistent. And a lot of people forget this. I know I've seen a lot of YouTubers do this, where they'll launch a YouTube series and they'll do 2 videos one week, and then they'll skip a week, and then they'll do one long video. And then I'm like, stop it. What can you do the best of your ability to be remarkable on a consistent basis? Is it once a week? If it's once every other week, and that's going to be the only thing that you can do to build remarkable content once every 2 weeks, then that's what you do. And you do that consistently. And then you can ramp up when you get more resources. But it's this inconsistency. It's like, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I used to receive a print newspaper, and you used to go outside. And I remember that day, the day I'd go out every morning to get my paper, get my coffee, read the whole thing. That was my routine. And then one day it didn't show up.
Oh no.
So what happened? I canceled. I can't take it. If you're going to deliver consistently. And a lot of podcasters that they have a lot of problems. They're kind of all over the place. It's 2 episodes this week, then 3, then 1. Then what are we doing? We have to do still must-see TV. We have to make sure we set an appointment with our audiences. And a lot of content creators don't do that. So if I'm in a room with new content entrepreneurs, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking focus on your audience, find your content tilt, figure out what that one thing is going to be that you're going to deliver that message. What's that base? And then we're going to make sure, if we're going to make a promise to our customers, we're going to deliver on that promise for the next 12 to 18 months. And we are not going to stop until they know, like, and trust us. And when they know, like, and trust us, then you can turn on the revenue.
I love that. Set the appointment with the audience and keep it.
And keep it. Exactly. I think people think, they think, oh, social media, just-in-time content, I can get information whenever, wherever. But you know what happens is, and you know this with your listeners, when you drop, they listen right then. Like they're waiting for you to drop. And like whatever you're talking, like when I drop This Old Marketing Podcast, Robert Rose and I dropped that at 4 a.m. Friday morning. You know when almost all of our listens happen? The next 6 hours. They get up in the morning and they've made an appointment. We know people that, you're with your audience. We know people that let us know. They say, oh, well, they go work out in the morning, or that's their morning drive, and they make sure. And when we missed one time, I had tech issues, man, did we hear from them. I was so nervous we were going to lose them forever. They're like, oh my God, I was going to work out and it wasn't there. What happened? I don't think a lot of people that aren't into content creation understand that power of consistency.
It speaks volumes to why you've been able to do what you do, to be able to have these shows, that mentality, and all the work that you did to get to where you are. This is exactly what you did. You set an appointment with each one of those channels, whatever it was, from the blog to where you are today. And even with book writing, this is for the other person, right, who's content creating. Some people can't even set the appointment with themselves to keep that going. And here you are, you've written multiple books. Do you have a method or an approach because it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't ask? Do you have a method or approach yourself that you sort of use to kick off the process of the book? Is it the basic, outline? But then like, what else
Sure.
do? You have to have something that you found is your tilt for that.
That's good. I like how you work that in. The first thing is, what is your goal? Like, what do you want to do? Now, I set the goal. This is back in 2007. I set a goal that I was going to write a full length book and publish a book every 2 years. Like, that was my thing. That was
Wow.
my consistency of the book. So what did that mean? 2009, get content, get customers. 2011, managing content marketing. 2013, epic content marketing. 2015, Content Inc. 2017, killing marketing. 2019, the will to die. 2021, next version of Content Inc. I'm working on 2023. I made that promise to myself. A lot of people don't do that. So if you, and by the way, I know you're a goal setter too. I read that goal every morning when I wake up, and I read that goal before I go to sleep every night. And I've got a bunch of other goals that are measurable. And that's basically how I motivate myself to getting these things done. Now, there's two different methods. I'm not going to go through the method of writing for a novel. I don't know if if you want to get into that, we can, but let's
It's
talk
slightly
about
different. Yeah.
it's slightly different. I had a whole different methodology for how I wrote the mystery novel. But I believe for a business book, I do what's called a blog to book strategy or an article to book strategy. So I get a really good feel for what the book should be about. So epic content marketing, for example, I had sort of an idea what the chapters were. I had an idea of what processes I wanted to cover, what the pain points of the audience was. I'm just like, we're targeting content marketing professionals. What do they need to know? How does that work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I started to write those down like they were blog posts. So chapters, I'd be like, okay, how do I create and use a content calendar? Okay, I'm gonna write that down. How do I set up listening posts so I understand my audience? Great. How do I find my content tilt? So I'm just writing all these things down, just like they were blog posts. And then I know that I'm, let's say, 15 months out from publication date. And I'm going and I'm saying every week I'm going to write an article. So when you do that 6 to 9 months later, you got about 75% of a book done. And at the same time, I had to write a weekly blog as well for Content Marketing Institute. So that's my weekly blog, putting it up. So a lot of people believe that you have to release everything brand new in your book. I do not believe that. I believe it's just a separate packaging of your expertise. So make sure I blog, use some of that blog, do a podcast off of that blog and go on. And then I've got 75, 80% of a book. And then I get down to the point where I'm going to go through the book publishing process. But it's just so helpful to have all that content already ready to go. It doesn't mean I don't update it. I absolutely do, but I've had it there. And when you get into the book publishing process and you're almost done, it's just such a weight off your shoulder. I don't know how people go into the woods and they go and find the cabin and they're like, okay, now I'm going to write my book or my masterpiece. I'm like, forget that. Let's just do a little bit every day. Isn't it easier to do it that way? So that's how I do it.
I think it's huge. It's got colors and tints of the way comedians work out material in different clubs, and it's the same thing.
Yep.
And eventually they have their special. And I really, really like that method. It definitely resonates more with me than going into a cabin and just like, let me just get
It's
this
daunting, isn't it? It's like, okay, here's the big thing. Like Content Inc. that just came out a couple months ago. I think it was like 320 pages long. If you say that's what it's got at your publishers, says, okay, I want a 300-page manuscript. You're like, what? This is no. And then you work back from there. So start, if you're thinking about writing a book, start with what do you think the publication date should be? When are people going to actually read that? And then you work all the way back. And then you're like, oh, that's not so bad. I could do that. I can do these 5 things this week or this month, whatever the case is. You take a little pressure off yourself. What's great is, though, if you have other communication initiatives going on, you can work all those things in on the way so you don't have to do double work.
I love that. Did you just say that the book is out? Part 2 is out already?
Oh, part 2 is out. Yeah, we just published. It just came out 2 months ago. Absolutely. So it is ready to go. We interviewed another 50 or so content entrepreneurs, figure out which model works, what doesn't, what's the formula that works. We looked at a global audience, so we got a lot of international examples. And
I've got to check that out. It's available all stores,
all over. Yeah, audio book that is, if you, I read it, so you'll get me on the audio version. But yeah, ebook, Kindle, print, everything, everywhere, wherever you find wonderful books, you will find, hopefully, Content Inc. It's the orange cover, because the white cover was 15. The orange cover is 21. So.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting news. And on that same topic, for people who are listening, for the listener right now, if they were like, okay, cool, I'll get the book, but I also want to stay in touch. Is he active on LinkedIn? Are you active on LinkedIn?
Yeah, my Twitter and LinkedIn are my two favorite sites, especially for business. On Facebook is only personal, and I'm using less and less of Facebook. But I'm at Joe Pulizzi on every social media platform, and then everywhere else I'm on thetilt.com. So we have our own Discord community as part of the Tilt. So I basically, I'm on there almost all times of the day, talking to everyone about what their challenges are, how I can help, and answering questions and all kind of stuff.
I love that you bring that up, because a lot of people, and this includes me, shamefully, I don't understand Discord's power. And maybe it's because, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I imagine you see something there. And I was wondering if you could just share a quick perspective on Discord and its power.
So I learned of Discord from my two children. I had no idea. I was like, they're like, Dad, you're a boomer. I'm Gen X all the way, but they were calling me boomer. And they're like, you just won't get this, because they're on like 100 different servers. Wow. And they're going back and forth and getting pinged and whatever. They're both gamers. One's in Minecraft, one plays Valorant. So they're all doing their thing, and they're all in these different rooms. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Now, what happened with Tiltcoin when we launched our community token, there's integration with Discord, not with Slack, not with, so what we can do with Tiltcoin, let's say you join our Discord site, I can send you Tiltcoin directly. I can do raffles on Tiltcoin, and then we have membership levels. So if let's say you have 20 Tiltcoin, you get in the VIP channel where you and I can talk all the time and have our conversations, and there's all different kinds of levels. But I could do that integration with Discord, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I still didn't know how to use it, and now it looks a little bit daunting, but Discord is so much easier to use than Slack. I'd take it 10 times over that, and it's easy for people to get involved. You can follow the interactions pretty easily. So I'm a Discord bull right now. I can see them being bought out by a huge tech company pretty soon. Definitely go for over $10 billion, no doubt about it. But I would recommend, the easiest thing to do, and the way I had to learn, I had to go into a couple communities. So I'm pretty big into NFTs right now and all the different coins. Every one of those NFTs have a Discord group. So if let's say I want to learn about an NFT project, you literally have to go join the Discord first and figure out what's the roadmap, what's the community like, and then you'll learn very quickly. So it's almost like you're bathing in this stuff as you go into Discord. You can't find a lot of it on Google, you can't find it on the web, but you can find it on this little community. The last thing I'll say about Discord, so we have about 10,000 subscribers to our email newsletter, and we launched it in April. So that's fine, we're doing great. We have about 600 or 700 on Discord. These are some of the most amazing people and most loyal, and they become friends, and now they have conversations offline with each other. So it's weird how that happens, and I talked about audience and community. Now we're building this audience of 10,000, let's say, but then we've got this smaller community, like the true believers. Then they really, really like the stuff and want to get into it. And that happens on Discord. So that's our business model. So we're Twitter and LinkedIn is sort of our rented channels that we use. Our owned media channel is our email newsletter. And then we've got this home for our social token, community token, and interaction with the true believers on Discord. Very simple business model. So far it's working.
Powerful stuff. And not enough people get the gist of Discord. I'm so glad you shared that, because it's the future among
I was lost, Phil. I was like, I'm never gonna get this. But you really have to play with it a couple days and figure it out. And now it makes perfect sense. But yeah, I mean, thankfully my kids taught me how to use it.
That's definitely going to be the future, man. The young teaching the old teaching the young, and the people in the middle going, wait, what are you guys talking about? And having to figure out, which is where we would say, yeah, no.
it's so crazy. I'm especially excited about a lot of the kids that are building the audiences and monetizing. I mean, we get a chance to cover some of these 18, 19, 22, 28-year-olds that have been doing the content creation thing for a couple of years, and now they're, multimillionaires, which is nuts. It's so crazy, because I'm like, it took me way longer to get to that point, but that's okay. I'm not envious. I'm glad for you, but they're following the model. Like, is very few of those get rich quick where they hit TikTok and hit 1 million likes right away and are able to monetize it. Most of them, like, Mr. Beast, maybe the most well-known YouTuber out there right now. I mean, I think he started with videos in 2011, really didn't work out who his audience was, what his content tilt was for a couple of years. And then he found it in 13, 14. And now he's got a hamburger franchise and he's, making $1 billion.
Wow.
So it's nuts. That's why I love that example of Mr. Beast, because people don't realize how hard he worked and how consistently he delivered his videos over a long period of time to get where he needed to go. It doesn't happen overnight.
He set the appointment and he kept it.
That's right. Absolutely.
Now, Joe, what are the calls to action you want to close things out with before I ask the closing question here for the listener?
So yeah, I'm at Joe Pulizzi, Pulizzi. You'll find me everywhere. I would love people to sign up for the tilt.com. If you're a content creator, if you want to be a content entrepreneur, that's all we do. We send you an e-newsletter twice a week. If you really believe in it, you can go ahead and join our Discord. The great thing about it is when you sign up for the tilt.com, you get Tiltcoin. So we send you complimentary Tiltcoin. If you refer that e-newsletter to somebody else, I'll send you more Tiltcoin. And we've got people that have, made thousands of dollars just by referring, doing the marketing for us. So we love that. So yeah, we're just a teaching organization. So if you're into this, we're ready to teach you. If you want more, you can get the book Content Inc. But I'd love you to sign up at the tilt.com.
I'm there.
Well, you're the perfect. I mean, you're a little bit more advanced because you built that audience already and you're looking to take your business model to the next level. And that's what's very exciting, because you're on the verge of doing some wonderful, amazing things. And you just have to make a decision. That's how I look at you. You're just like, what do you decide? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to serve? And when you decide that, then you can roll out the business model. So,
oh man,
there you go. Pressure's on.
Hey man, if I can learn Discord and everything the way you have, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. But I have this question that I've asked everybody, and I'm actually really curious to hear your answer, but there's no pressure, okay? Sure. And you are welcome to pass. And that is, if you could have invited anybody today to sit in the chair next to us today and sort of hear the chat, chime in, dead or alive, who would you have wanted and why?
I was going to answer this differently, but I'm going to give you one dead and one alive. One is my uncle who just passed away, who I'm probably an entrepreneur because of my uncle and my grandfather. But since my uncle passed away, I just love for him to be in that conversation. Somebody who's still alive that I would have never, I don't know why this popped into my head, but now it makes perfect sense, is Billy Joel, because I grew up listening to Billy Joel. So that was my 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, had glasses and braces, and I was trying to work out and I felt awkward. And I basically spent a lot of my time listening to Glass Houses by Billy Joel, and wonderful storyteller, amazing storyteller. And I think a lot of my passion for storytelling came from Billy Joel. So I probably would want him sitting there in appreciation for, the impact he's made on my life. And the greatest thing is, before COVID, I was able to go with my oldest to see Billy Joel in New York, which was a phenomenal experience. So it was right before New York shut down.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what was coming, right? And it was one of his last concerts in New York. But now I know he's starting to go again, but up to that point, and to share that with my family was a big deal.
Yeah, that would have been an amazing conversation if you had him here, and the power of storytelling. What do you think? And chiming in with what's going on.
He could play a little piano while we're doing this thing, which I can't do, but I would love. can we hear a little Stranger Vienna while we're having
Oh,
this conversation? That would be fantastic.
glass houses, stranger in Vienna. I'm gonna go back and play all of these right after our conversation.
Oh my God. Yeah. Old, yeah. Pre 82 Billy Joel. That's my sweet spot.
Joe, man, it really has been a pleasure getting to chat with you again. I can see the energy is the consistent. For people to know, consistent people are the hardest people to find. And in a world that's so transactional, you come across and you meet people, and then you don't know if you'll ever see them again. But you have been consistent, and to me, that means that your messaging is consistent and that everything you're saying has integrity. And you mean what you say when you tell people, look, you got to decide who you're going to serve, who you're going to create things for, set the appointment. And it's not about the frequency, it's the consistency.
Yeah.
That's the most important
Amen.
thing. And for me, that's a huge takeaway. It's a conversation that isn't being had. And I'm grateful that you stopped by to spark that.
Well, I'm so appreciative that you had me on and that we could talk again. And I'm looking forward to your next big thing. You got to let
Same.
me know. I can't wait. I want to hear what it is.
Well, I'm gonna go buy the new Content Inc. book first and start taking my notes before we interact again. Because now I didn't know. Now I'm gonna check it out. It's probably on Amazon, probably on Barnes and Noble, any one of the places. I might just be out at the airport and there'll be a copy there. I'm sure. So
Well, you're between step 4 and step 5. So you don't need step 4, 5, and 6. You follow that model and you'll be right where you need to be.